All right, thanks for joining, everybody. We'll give it a few minutes here before we dive in. Thanks for hopping on, and we'll start shortly. Give it one more minute here. We still have a good flow of people coming in.
Feel bad, John, sometimes because it takes me more than a minute to get into a Zoom meeting.
I know.
Don't know where to click. Puts a lot of pressure on a lot of people to get here on time.
Oh, man, that's right. I think we're
still coming in.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and get started. Everyone, thank you guys so much for joining us today. My name is John Hardesty. I'm the partnership manager here at Top of Mind. And we're super excited to welcome you to, I think, are going to be a really great session here. We talked about, the Surefire Summit's theme is refi boom recovery. We're definitely going to hit that hard today, but we're going to talk about the borrower experience. And with me today for this session, we have Nick Belinky. Nick's our CRO here at Surefire CRM. And a very special guest from a very great partner of ours, Andria Lightfoot, Chief Customer Officer at SimpleNexus. Guys, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having us, John.
Yeah. Well, so the theme, right? We want to talk about elevating the borrower experience to drive demand. Such an important part, and we've talked a little bit before this about this topic. So I'm excited to see where it goes for our viewers today. But Nick, I'm going to start actually with you with a question, and we're going to dive right in here. Personal and corporate branding, right? All-time high. They play a crucial part in the borrower experience. In the spirit of our theme that we put together, the refi boom recovery, what about personal branding has changed since the refi boom? So I'll throw it to you, and then we'll go from there.
That's a topic where I go pretty deep. I'll try to keep it kind of high level. We look at branding at all parts of the borrower lifecycle: prospecting, in process, post close branding, and then the other dimension that we need to think about is where is the borrower in those different phases? Where are we going to go find them, and how do we scale your brand message to an omni-channel approach? Yes, we can send emails. Yes, we can send text messages. Yes, we can call. Yes, we can do video. Yes, we can send postcards and gifts and things like that. But how does a loan officer do all those things? If you want a loan officer to be effective, they need a way to scale their brand instantly without their own personal effort. It needs to be a setup. It needs to be something that is basically projected from the marketing system. And so when I talk about branding, I talk about having automated strategies to set up your brand identity one time in the system, have it projected through all of your content and all your messaging in a way that's consistent and automated, but doesn't rely on the loan officer to be consistent in their approach, because sometimes that's difficult as you're trying to work your way through the day. So look at the entire process and look at the entire life cycle and try to figure out where your brand is going to be visible to the borrower. Make sure that you're applying that message consistently throughout, and make sure it's backed by automation. If you're forced to do things manually, it's never going to get done.
Andrew, I know you're ready to get going here, so give us your thoughts on that topic, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, especially when it comes to branding, the thing I love that you're talking about is the consistency of automation. But something that's really unique here at SimpleNexus is, point of sale sometimes is the other acronym for POS. Let's just be honest. It doesn't always drive your borrowers back through to you. Sometimes it's just a glorified 1003. We use a mobile app at SimpleNexus. And so what Nick's talking about here is based on data that it's 5 times more expensive for you to go out and get a new borrower through the door, right? That's for SaaS companies, for folks like us. That's for you as lenders. And if you want to be a lender for life, differentiating yourself has to start with the types of tools that you're using to automate. We're actually connecting you with your realtor partners in app, which means any partner, your title agents that you want to talk to. Now, look, we're post-COVID. You can't show up with a box of donuts like you used to. Maybe you are, but most places we're not able to do that. So we've got to have something that differentiates us from the competition. So that brand message is penetrating deeply, not just to your customer base. You might want to churn to have that lender for life mentality, but also to be able to go deeper into your partner connections. When a real estate office kind of knows that they can trust you, when they're getting that consistent messaging out on what's happening on the life cycle of a loan, now all of a sudden you're ready to play whether we're in refi or we're in purchase mode. And you have that at your fingertips with the automation. So I love where we're going with this, that technology has to be a foundational tool in your strategy approach.
Well, Andrea, that's great. And you know what, that in-app experience is just another, it's another part of that omni-channel approach, right? And you have to, if your borrower likes to use an app to interact with you, that white label experience is critical. So what would you say? I mean, if you're talking, obviously you got a vested interest in it, but what's the talk track around when is it time to invest in POS? When is it time to invest in having my own white label app? Like, where is that in the evolution? We're seeing so many brokers coming out in the marketplace today, and they're asking us technology questions like, when do I spend time on this?
Yeah, and I think about it, the way we here at SimpleNexus talk on, it's the home ownership platform. It is really thinking about the entire experience. Borrower experience doesn't stop when they apply online. Their last experience with you is actually closing. And so we've kind of put point of sale on its ear a little bit because we do all of it over here. We're not just your app. And so if you're trying to evaluate, say, is this really worth it? Am I going to get more out of my co-branded mobile app experience? Well, I can tell you at SimpleNexus, we have lead conversion rates that increase up to 1/3% more, like 33% more, right? More mobile app shares, more conversion of that share back and forth. And we talk about that just like the internet, TikTok or Facebook, all of the social media. It's the virality of your brand. And so we think about it as you're trying to identify what's out there on the point of sale landscape to say, am I going to actually get more leads out of this? Am I going to actually be able to convert this deal? We convert at an 86% rate from the time that you start to going all the way through the process. People are going to stick with you when it's good technology. So I would think about the virality of what you're doing. Is this going to catch on like wildfire? You want to be in their pocket before they go to bed at night and they're checking. I don't want you in their email. That's what other point of sales will do at SimpleNexus by building on a mobile app. We're doing what Amazon does. Amazon says 85% of their customers actually buy on the app. You might say, hey, I'll delete an app off, but actually your Candy Crush in your phone would say differently. Okay, so we know people aren't deleting apps. They're waiting for that push notification. And with our integration with Surefire and other partners, we're able to embed a lot of that activity in a place that's surfacing it. So really think about, okay, maybe I've got a great team and I've got a process and I don't want to invest in that space, but how much time are you spending trying to outpace the guy who has better tech than you next door? Think about your lead conversion rate and also look for companies like ours who are willing to work with smaller shops. We don't have, a minimum buy-in that's like super expensive. We work with small credit unions, broker shops, regions of loan officers come on to SimpleNexus all the way up through enterprise. We have companies in the top 25 of the Scotsman Guide, right? So we're up there with your multi-billion-dollar lenders all the way down to you got 5 or 6 guys in a shop who need an app. When it comes down to it, though, don't stop by just looking at what your online application is. Think about lead and demand gen. How are you getting leads in? How are you doing pre-qual automation? How is the communication path syncing to all your other tech? And then remember, last experience, best experience. It's the 11-star Airbnb. If you've ever heard this, I'll rephrase it, right? Airbnb came out and said, what would the 11-star experience look like? Not a 5-star hotel, 11-star hotel.
A lot of
We want
stars,
that-
Andrea.
We want that for your customers so that they're actually signing digitally, e-closing online. They never have to leave their house, and they're still doing it on a mobile sensitive device.
Yeah, that you know what I like. I pulled a lot of points out of what you were saying there. First of all, 11 stars. I got to go find 11 stars now. That's a lot of stars. I stopped at 5. Went and got a coffee.
We're going way fast.
I thought I was done. That's a ton of pressure. But it's a really good point. And then, but going earlier, something you were talking about, which I love. We get a lot of conversation around leads. Where am I going to get these leads? Especially, we're talking a lot about this refi boom recovery. Where the leads going to come from, Andrea? And your point was spot on. It's very similar to talk track we have with our customers when we consult with them, when we say, whoa, hold on, let's see what your conversion rate is first, right? Let's make sure you have actually addressed the leads that you have. Because if you're going to just buy leads and not follow up appropriately, not give them the experience that they need in order to convert, the company down the street will, and your borrower appreciates that. So that's really important to think about that. As a part of that is that in-app experience is definitely going to lead to conversion improvement. We see on the Surefire side, we see a 3x improvement with those lenders that are using a proven prospect management workflow engagement plan versus kind of the catch as catch can, hey, someone called me, I kind of called them back, casual approach. Technology helps with that. Automation helps with that. You really have to put it all together and make sure that you've got a plan. You've got a strategic plan for how you're going to handle your prospects before you go buy 1,000 more leads at what today is, top dollar pricing.
And then think of that, schema on the Virality piece of our borrower referral share link. What that really means is you give somebody the mobile app, they download it on their phone. Your realtor is invited into that experience. They're watching with you as they're trying to look for houses, calculating mortgage payments. We're giving them all that upfront technology to kind of work through the problem statements with you. And then it's a 2-to-1 ratio. So for every borrower you're bringing in, they're going to go share it with at least 2 more people. And then they're going to share it with 2 more people, and they're right. So then you're also getting more out of those leads in terms of how they're sharing. Right now, could you send somebody the phone number of the mortgage guy? Sure, right. But with this, if you've got the mortgage gal in your phone in the mobile app, I was at dinner the other night, and not just because I work at SimpleNexus, some good friends of ours looking for a house. Prices are great out here in DC. They're going to get great price for their house, and this household formation is really important because we're looking at the demographics of who's actually going to be new households here coming into the next 40 years. And so I'm not just looking at 22, I'm looking 20, 30, 40 years out. Urban Institute has said this idea of how you're sharing, who you're sharing, and families, friendships, the culture of how we're getting the information out there. We've invested in what we're calling our new branded Nexus Bilingual, and we're starting with Spanish. And that's because that Urban Institute and Pew research is showing us household formation in the 90s of Hispanic and Black families were anywhere between 5 to 10%. It's going to be comprised about 65% of the market share over the next 20 to 30 years. So if you don't have this mentality of, sure, I could email somebody, I could give them your phone number. No, let's make it really easy to get those referrals out the door. And let's also give them something that speaks to where they are in that journey. If they need help with Spanish language assistance, limited English proficiency, that's the buzzword with Fannie and Freddie. We have something that is kind of a lead gen. It's not a full app, but it's something that will help you stay compliant and start penetrating some of those other market shares as well.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up Spanish language, bilingual communications. Obviously, with Surefire, lenders are using our platform to communicate, during the entire borrower life cycle. And we've taken the approach where we let the borrower decide what language they want to accept content in from, not just from the individual messaging, but also in the message. You said, for example, limited English. Well, some of the message may be very, very consumable. Other parts of the message they prefer to have in their native language, and dynamically switching back and forth between those is part of the sort of the beauty of the apps inside of Surefire, and so in the content inside of Surefire. And so that fits really well with your messaging, where people aren't just one thing anymore, and that's kind of closed-minded look. We're only going to sell in Spanish language in certain geographies. That's just not true anymore. I mean, you've got to be ready as a lender. You've got to be ready to pivot. You got to be able to deliver the content to the borrower the way they want to consume it. That's a huge trend that's happening in 2021.
Well, in pre-pandemic, the Urban Institute came out and did some ratios of what mobile app means to those populations. So you might say, well, digital divide, access to the internet, don't most of us have the internet? Well, yes, 85% of all Americans, including minorities, have access to a mobile device. But the difference in how we use them across those racial divides, it's dramatically different. And so by contrast, just knowing that you have a mobile app, not mobile sensitive. So keep that in mind in your buying evaluation as well. Somebody might say, oh, I can do an online website. We all know that operates very differently than a mobile app. And the other piece is just like you mentioned, our integration with what you have and how we're feeding that back out to the customer base. We do that with a lot of tech vendors. I like to think that for those that know Slack or some of those omni-channel approaches, we're really the nice guys on the block here when it comes to tech. We want to integrate with all of your partners, your mortgage coaches, right? There's all of these different integrations that as a loan officer, you want to use, Boom Boom for your video, just pull it on in. We've got those actually built in out of the box ready for you.
Well, as we expected, Andrea, we talked over John already, and then we're going right through. I know John's chomping at the bit with questions, but
jumping in there, John.
As we always did, or even before this conversation, we were vibing. Like, I think we should turn the webinar on at some point. So sorry. Apologies, John. It's my fault. Please carry on. I know we're gonna have a lot to cover.
Yeah, no, I was going to say you guys are honestly answering my questions as you're talking, so I was fine with just letting you go for the full 30 minutes. But there is one more topic. I know we talk about this a lot here at Surefire, but retention, right? There's no doubt. 2020, everybody was getting leads. It was refi, but we talk a lot about retention and how that needs to be at the forefront now of how are you going to go back into those leads that you got and retain their business, keep them informed, keep them nurtured. So I wanted to bring this topic up, get you guys' thoughts on retention, especially as we're going into a purchase market, because there might be some people on this call that have only lived through the refi boom, right? They're new to the industry. So let's talk about retention. Nick, I'll start with you.
So sure. So great. You refinanced your house in 2020, but maybe you're looking to upgrade or buy a new home in a geography that you're going to work from home in. There's a lot of reasons why this market is looking very optimistic for our lender partners this year. And so I get a lot of questions when we have consultative sessions. Okay, so now how do I retain? I have all these refinances on my books now. How do I retain them as customers? And I say it's pretty simple. You get in a time machine. You go back to the experience that they had with you, and that's the topic that we're talking about here. Go back to the experience that they had with you and make sure that during that experience, they consumed your brand appropriately. And there's a specific, Stratmore did a study on this. There's a specific part of it that really matters while you're in process, while you're interacting with the lender's mortgage tech stack, is that the borrower comes out of it with a positive educational experience. They feel like you've been consultative with them. Now, if you remember in the refi boom time, when you've got one phone here and one phone here, and there's a lot of memes about what 2020 looked like for loan officers. A lot of them sleep under desks. A lot of people listening today. It's really tough to be educational. You almost worry that the phone's going to ring and someone's going to ask you 25 questions because you don't have the time necessarily. So when you're building out your in-process communications, they must have an educational component. You have to evaluate your in-process, make sure that every time that I communicate that something has changed in the funding process, that I'm also informing them about some of the anticipated questions and risks and worries, because of course they're in a state of high emotion when they're trying to get that new home. So go back in time and evaluate your process to make sure it has a strong educational component. I think that is the highest contributor to your net promoter score, which is going to be incredibly important for your retention rate down the road.
Yeah, and what I love about talking about net promoter scores is actually, if you didn't have a time machine, the great news is with a good CRM and good data, you can get back out there in front of that customer before they're getting hit by the realtor, before they're getting hit by 2 or 3 other, mailers and, things in their inbox right now. It is a bit of a bloodbath out there when it comes to the marketing. And that's why having them in your mobile app where they've already loved it, you put a ring on it, then they're going to stay there because you're in front of them with those drip campaigns. And so what we've seen that's really powerful for retention is that the same calculator they used the first time around when they did a mortgage with you, the same pre-qual letter interaction style we have with your realtor and your loan officer up front, they keep that app on the phone. And then we're able to convert that again and again when they want to buy their second home or their investment, or kid goes to college and they do need that refi finally because they need the HELOC, right? It's being able to understand that in our market, we aren't worried about rates because we don't sell rates. We're selling our relationship through the technology platform. That's really the heart and soul of SimpleNexus. And we love the way Surefire plays in that space, because what you're saying is so true about brand. I'm going to come back to what's trusting and familiar in a highly emotional time. I don't know if you've heard about some of the psychology lists of the top 10 most stressful things that go on in your life. Almost all of them relate back to buying a house, a divorce, loss of a family member, loss of a job. I mean, there's adding a job, adding a baby, all the positives and negatives. It all kind of roads lead back to mortgage. And we've been the bright light of the pandemic. Of all of the industries that have had downhill turn, we were the ones that really helped shore up the economy. So retention, I think, is more than just a purchase play. It really is a strategy in how you're thinking about building yourself to maybe $100 million producer, if that's your goal. If you're at 10 million, get yourself to 20 next year. If you're at 20, go to 50, right? These are the tools and strategies that we see from top shops that go out there. If they don't have their time machine, they get to their data and then they start getting in front of that customer, not in their email, in their mobile app as a drip campaign.
Okay, so your advice: stop the plans for the time machine. Smart, I like that. And you're a good source because I did check my phone while you're talking, and I still have the app for my lender. You're right. And I got a notification from Candy Crush also. So you're on the right track with this. I'm starting to believe in that. I'm starting to believe in the app and the long-term experience. That's great.
John, any other questions on retention? Because I know I'm no Barry Habib. I don't have my crystal ball in terms of housing. I think you guys had him on, and Dave Stevens. They do a much better job on the economics of it. But I can tell you, after almost 20 years in mortgage, running a shop and being out in that space, you loan officers know it is about that relationship and staying in front of folks. And the best are able to wake up and they just shred through the day. These tools will do that type of comms package for you. So it's not just that online 1003 experience, collecting the data, trying to get somebody pre-qualified. It's really staying in front of them with your own white labeled custom branding. That's so important, what you all are talking about here at this summit, because you have to have a differentiation to someone next to you. If you're all using the same product and it all looks the same, that is not what either Surefire or SimpleNexus sell. We sell white label, we sell customization too.
So Andrea, I love that you brought up that point. One of the concepts that came up early in the summit that we've talked about a lot is going back to those agent referral partners that we've got that we're all vying for. It's not just borrowers that we're trying to get their attention. It's the referral network as well. And on the CRM side, we're providing resources like single property sites and co-branding materials, support materials for digital viewings. We're moving our marketing strategies with the refi boom recovery. What are some of the strategies on the POS side with SimpleNexus to help get the referral partners on board? Not just getting repeat to business, but getting some of that referral business too.
Yeah, the thing I love most about our co-branded synergy with you all is that we do that in our app as well. And that's kind of unique. Not many point of sales are even willing to do that with you. That's because we're inviting in those realtor partners. And it can be, again, I want to emphasize, any partner you have. It doesn't have to be a realtor. It could be an insurance guy or gal. It could be, your painter down the street might give you great referrals, your accountant, right? Like there's all kind of people we get referrals from in mortgage. So you invite those referral partners in, and now we're able to see what they're sharing, how often they're actually bringing in the business. It's one thing to say, oh yeah, I'll send some leads your way. It's another thing to see how good of a partner they actually are being. That's one, right? The second piece is co-branding allows us to build that relationship deeper, where now you've built in this trusted partner mentality of, I need you and you need me, and I'm giving you something in return, and it's not going to be a RESPA issue. This is really just about partnerships, right? And that co-branded feeds off of pre-qual letters that are automated. This is a big deal for us. When we move into a purchase business, nobody's doing it the way we do, because we will actually allow you, the loan officer, to control your qualifying price point, feed that back out to that partner who's very used to using the app in their hand, right there in their pocket. And then if they need to make an offer letter, they're not bugging you Sunday night to get it back out. We've had loan officers, we actually had a wife of a loan officer call our co-founder and say, thank you so much for installing SimpleNexus. He actually can be at dinner. I actually do things on the weekends now with my own husband. And it was because he wasn't typing out pre-qual letters every time the price went down 5,000 and then went to, right? You know, realtors want that exact price point for those offer letters. We've been doing that for 10 years now at SimpleNexus. So we were already good at the refi boom stuff. Purchase was where we really shine, because we invite in your trusted partners. We keep them updated on notifications that are customized for life cycle of the loan. Are you approved? Are you in underwriting? Are we getting out to closing? Did the appraisal come in? Did you get that home inspection done? Whatever you want to notify them. Borrower, realtor, all of that's taken care of. I think that kind of synergy between those, you know, you can say it's just co-branding. It's not. There's so much more about being interdependent on each other when we're in this dogfight going into 22.
Yeah, Andrea, I love what you brought up about, you know, being at this for 10 years means you've seen a boom and a bust, and you know, you've been around from a technology standpoint. Use, you know, the advice to the folks that are listening into this session is rely on your technology partners as consultants. They've seen both sides of the market. So we're talking about refi boom recovery today, but look, in a year, we may have a different topic that we know what the playbook is for. So Andrea, I really appreciate your insight in saying, we've been through this before. We know how to handle this type of market.
I have to say, I think a great session is all about the content, and there's no doubt right there that was two industry veterans and two great professionals having a great conversation. So I think we're good, guys. Thank you, Andrea, first and foremost, for joining us today. That was phenomenal. Nick, as always, thank you for all your contributions. And if you're out there listening and you're interested more in SimpleNexus, we'll be reaching out to you. We'll get you over there and get you taken care of. They're a great partner of ours, and the two tools together, no doubt, are addition to anyone's tech stack. So again, Andrea, thank you for joining us, and everyone have a great day today. Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya. Thanks.